When I was newly single after my 2-year relationship ended, I was back to living alone again, and back to swiping on Tinder and all those apps. I had been single for a few months already, and I had met a few people in that time. During that time I matched a girl on Tinder, named Tracy. And she gave me her Snapchat, but it quickly fizzled out to her just watching my stories, not really communicating. That kind of used to happen all the time when I was in college, but now, being in my late 20s, using Tinder, and just being reminded of how immature all this online dating stuff is, it feels a lot different at this age. I own a corner town home in a little community. If you're wondering what I do, I'm an accountant. Good money, but miserably boring after my ex moved out. I thought I would be ready for the privacy and peace and quiet, but I decided, say after the first month the novelty of that wore off, maybe I'm more of a relationship person, or I just need people around, but being alone was getting to me. That's why I was constantly swiping on dating apps, and trying to go on dates just to get out of the house. This was last December. I posted something on my Snap story that had to do with Christmas, and guess who commented on my story? It was that Tracy girl who I hadn't spoken to in weeks. She struck up a conversation about us doing some Christmas-themed stuff together, and from there we started chatting for a bit. I suggested the most festive things I could think of: ice skating, going to the village and looking at the decorations, but she suggested we decorate my Christmas tree. Firstly, I did have a fake tree, but it was up in the attic. So I told her I didn't have it up yet because it's kind of a two-person job getting it out of the attic. She said she'd gladly come over and help, so I figured why not. I told her to come over around 900 that night. It was already dark at that point when we made the plan. Man, it was likely like 7:30, because I remember hurriedly grabbing my keys and rushing to drive to the liquor store to buy a couple bottles of wine. When I got back to the house, I vacuumed and swept the floors ever since my breakup. The things my girlfriend would do to clean the place were left to me, and I realized how quickly a place can get dirty. 9 p.m. rolled around, and I was low-key sitting upright on the couch, with the TV on, pretending like I was just chilling in the living room watching a movie already. Meanwhile, I had set everything up to be cozy and relaxing, but I sat there for a while, waiting on her to message me, or for the doorbell. I sent a follow-up saying, "Let me know when you're on your way," and I eventually started to think she was flaking until finally around 9:30 when she said she's outside. She came inside, and I was shocked to find that I was looking up at her. She was a couple inches taller than me. I'm 5'10", so she had to be at least 6 tall. I also immediately picked up on the fact that she smelt like she was drenched. And perfect perfume. We went straight to the couch and sat down. And she sat really close to me, like our legs were touching. This is where I started to get confused in how exactly I was feeling. She looked a bit older, maybe a little rougher. I'm not sure how to explain it. And underneath that overpowering smell of cheap-smelling perfume, I couldn't help but feel like there was a slight hint of body odor which completely turned me off. I asked her if she wanted wine, and she said yes please, so I went and poured a couple glasses as we talked. Have you ever met someone for the first time that you've been texting or DMing for a while, and when you finally meet they just end up being nothing like you pictured in your head? That was pretty much this. Something about her felt off, like she lacked certain social cues. I handed her a glass of Merlot and we cheers each other, I shoo you not. She almost immediately spilled a huge drop of red wine on my light blue couch. I composed myself, but I wanted to scream. I said it's okay as I ran to the kitchen to get a damp paper towel and sponge. I ran back to the couch and blotted it as quickly as I could before it would settle. She kept apologizing, and I kept saying it was okay. After this, it got a little more tense, and to break the tension I suggested I get the tree out of the attic. So I went up to the attic, slid over the giant box with all the tree parts in it, and started handing her down the pieces one by one. Each piece getting bigger until we got to the biggest part, the part that I wouldn't be able to handle going down the ladder on my own. She grabbed it with ease. I had to remember this girl's size. Once everything was handed down, I went back down and we assembled the tree in the living room with Christmas music playing. I poured her more wine and I drank more myself. I loosened up a bit more. Wine makes any situation feel better once we had the tree set up. Next was the ornaments. I told her my ornaments were all in the crawl space. These ornaments were all for my childhood. My parents gave me bins and tables to make our way downstairs. I felt like I hadn't drank that much in 5 days. Bins of Christmas decorations all around. I went down to the crawl space and one by one started taking out the bins while I left Tracy in the living room to relax. As I was doing all of this, I started feeling woozy, like the wine was getting to my head. I've never been a heavy drinker, so I do have a low tolerance, but I felt like I hadn't drank that much to feel this way. I grabbed the first bin, started lugging it up the stairs. By the time I got to the top, Tracy wasn't anywhere in sight. I assumed she was in the bathroom at first, and called her name. I looked around each room, and then saw that the bathroom was empty. I scratched my head in confusion as I kept calling her name. I went to message her on Snap, but she never opened the Snap. I checked the 2 bedrooms too, but she was gone. I couldn't believe this. She snuck out on me. This was when I started wondering if she thought I was ugly or weird or something, though truthfully I wasn't even really into her either. I crashed onto the couch, which suddenly felt a lot more comfortable than before. And honestly, as far as I remember, I periodically checked my phone to see if she opened my Snap and just watched whatever was on TV until my memory just faded to black. I swear everything just went black, and then I woke up in darkness. No lights, no TV on. I looked around in the dark room, and I knew I was hearing things. I felt like I was still on the couch, and I felt weak. My limbs were hard to move, but I managed to find my phone right under me within seconds, and I checked the time. The second the phone screen lit up, I saw it even though the light was facing toward me, that glow.